San Francisco, California, 2012. A small office with no windows, an old laptop bought on Craigslist, a sleeping bag in the corner. This is where the story of Core Solutions began. Rebecca Carter was a 29-year-old smart but exhausted girl with an MIT degree and a dream to create something big, something that would change the industry. She worked around the clock, coding at night, selling the idea by day, drinking instant coffee from plastic cups, and living in a rented room with mold on the ceiling. She had no investors, influential friends, or media events, just an idea and a fanatical belief in herself. 10 years later, Core is now one of the largest players in the US artificial intelligence market. Contracts with government agencies, offices in New York, Seattle, and Austin. And most importantly, hundreds of employees who believed in the company as much as it did. But something changed, and this something is Michael Grant. He was brought in by investors 3 years ago when the company had grown so much that it needed a fresh corporate approach. Michael had the perfect biography: Harvard, Wall Street, a snow-white smile, and a speech that flowed like honey. He became the new CEO, formally leaving Rebecca in the role of founder and honorary director. She was promised influence, but in practice, she was increasingly ignored. At first, she didn't pay attention. She was even happy that she could finally be less burned out by deadlines and more strategic. But with each passing month, her voice became weaker and weaker. One morning, when she arrived at the headquarters in San Francisco, Rebecca opened the door to her office and found a strange girl sitting in her chair. A blonde, young woman in a bright red skirt, looking through documents. "Oh, hi, miss. I was just going through some files for Mr. Grant." Rebecca stopped in the doorway, her eyes cold and attentive. "That's my desk. Sorry. I thought this was just the shared space now," Michael said. "That's my desk," Rebecca repeated in a different tone. The girl got up and hurriedly left. Behind the glass, the employees pretended that nothing had happened. Some looked down, others nervously sipped their coffee. Everyone saw but remained silent. It was Ashley Monroe, Michael's new secretary. She had joined the company only 2 weeks ago, without any official announcement. There were rumors, but everything has always remained between the lines. That same day at 19:07, Rebecca received an email. The subject line was "Upcoming Board Realignment. Dear Rebecca. As Core enters a new phase of growth and restructuring, the board has initiated a realignment of executive leadership to better reflect our current direction. We deeply value your legacy and contribution. You will retain your founder title, while day operations will transition fully to the new executive team. We thank you for your vision. Let's move forward together." She sat alone in the silence of her office. The cold coffee was untouched. On the wall was the Core logo. Her logo, her company. Her head was buzzing. Anger, resentment, fear. She remembered sitting here on the floor in 2013, eating cheap supermarket soup and developing the first algorithm that was now making millions for the company. And now she was being told thank you, but no thanks now. She stood up, went to the closet, and pulled out a small black box from the top shelf, almost invisible. Inside was a miniature camera with a motion sensor. She had placed it in Michael's office herself after a strange incident with lost documents. Now she knew it was time to get the records. And the main thing was to wait for the right moment. They don't know who they're dealing with yet. The next week, something in the air changed. Her colleagues began to treat Rebecca as if she were no longer in charge. Doors that used to open for her now remained closed. Meetings were rescheduled without explanation. Emails went unanswered. Things in the office felt as if someone was slowly updating them without her consent. Michael acted gently but accurately. "We appreciate your insights, Rebecca, really, but let's let the new team handle this one," he said when she tried to interfere with the project she had started 2 years ago. But it wasn't the indifference that irritated her the most. It was Ashley. Michael's young secretary was everywhere, at meetings where she didn't belong, in the elevator when Rebecca thought she was alone, even at her favorite coffee shop around the corner. "Funny seeing you here," Ashley said one day with a fake smile as they both ordered lattes. "Michael says I'm a natural at understanding the company vibe. I guess I just get it, you know." The company vibe. Rebecca nodded, but inside she was seething. One evening, after work, she turned on her laptop and opened a separate folder called Officer Grantcam. The camera that stood in the corner of Michael's office had been working all week. There was a lot of video. She rewound it, watched it, until she found what she was looking for. First laughter, then it was the touch. Then there was no room for doubt. On the screen, Ashley was sitting on Michael's lap. His hand was under her skirt. They were talking about her future and plans for a new position. She's outdated anyway, stuck in the past, he said. Then let's build a new future, she replied. Rebecca stopped the video. She sighed, and for the first time in a long time, she smiled calmly, confidently. Let the game begin. Wednesday, 10:00 a.m. Breakdoor's headquarters in New York City is unusually busy. The lobby smells of fresh espresso. Administrators are arranging folders for guests, and a large monitor has a screensaver with the company logo and the words, "Break accord to point zero. The future begins today." Michael stands near the stage, clean-shaven, wearing an expensive Tom Ford suit. He radiates confidence. Ashley is next to him in a white dress, holding a tablet and pretending to check something. In reality, she is posing. In the front row are key investors, department heads, and Laura Grant, Michael's wife. Reserved, stylish, with diamonds in her ears, she came unannounced. She never shows up at internal meetings. But this time she did. Rebecca is the last to enter. She's wearing a dark graphite-colored business suit, and her eyes are like a scalpel. "Good morning, everyone," Michael begins, getting up on stage. A bold phase, and sometimes bold moves mean difficult decisions. His gaze slides across the room. It stops at Rebecca. As of today, we are restructuring our leadership team. We're saying goodbye to someone who helped us start, but who, let's face it, no longer aligns with our current vision. Whispers in the room. Someone looks over at Laura, who isn't moved. Rebecca hasn't moved. So please join me in thanking Rebecca Carter for her years of service. He steps to the side, inviting her to the stage. No one applauds. Everyone is frozen in anticipation. Rebecca rises slowly. A pause. She pulls a small flash drive out of her jacket pocket. "Before I go," she says, "I think there's one more thing everyone should see." She connects the US to the laptop. The date appears on the screen. The label Cam Grant Office, and then a black and white video. The room is completely silent. A few seconds later, the sound of laughter. Then there are kisses, movements. Michael and Ashley together in his office. Bright, unambiguous, shocking. The audience freezes. Someone puts their hand over their mouth. One of her executives slowly takes out his phone. Ashley turns pale as chalk. Laura rises from her seat. Her eyes are empty. Michael rushes to the computer, but it's too late. It's already happened. No one looks at him with respect anymore. No one applauds. Rebecca just stands there. She is silent. But everyone feels it. This is her scene, and her revenge. The video that Rebecca sent to several journalists without hesitation became an instant sensation. The video of Michael and Ashley discussing their treacherous deal and hidden investment manipulation quickly made its way to the media. At first, it was just a rumor that quickly flooded Twitter and other social networks, but soon it became official. No one expected this turn of events. And even Rebecca, watching the events unfold, was surprised at how quickly Michael's career fell apart. The video became a hit on news channels, and even investors who were still interested in the company's stability could not ignore it. Michael, who no longer had any arguments left, was fired as CEO a few hours after the video hit the media. All of his achievements, his investment strategies, his former influences dissolved in the darkness of the scandal. Michael, who had previously considered himself invincible and flawless, now looked like a confused man without support. His name was becoming a symbol of the downfall of a major corporation, and he had nothing to hold his position. Investors didn't just walk away. They actively got rid of all ties to his name, and immediately faced the choice of a new leader. And while in the business world such scandals can usually be covered up with money or political connections, this time everyone was unprepared for how quickly and decisively the media acted. Laura was still in shock when she found out about everything. She could not believe that her husband, with whom she had shared her entire life, could commit such a betrayal. For her, it was not just a blow, it was the complete destruction of her world. She didn't try to hold on to anything because everything seemed lost. She looked at him and saw not the man with whom she had once planned her future, but a stranger who betrayed her and her family for his own benefit. Laura filed for divorce even before Michael had time to recover from his fall. It wasn't just a decision, it was her attempt to free herself from the burden that had been weighing on her shoulders for the past decade. She didn't want any excuses from him. She didn't want to settle the relationship. All she wanted was to be free of this pain. The next day after the video was released, Ashley, Michael's secretary who had been involved in all these scandals, disappeared from the office. She simply didn't show up for work. Everyone felt that she had also become part of this collapse. And now it was better for her to leave everything behind. Perhaps she was part of the team that worked on preparing the betrayal. But now she was neither in the office nor in the city. There were rumors that she had fled abroad to avoid the consequences of her actions. She did not make speeches to the press, did not give emotional interviews. She came to the office dressed as she always did, in a strict suit. She did not make speeches to the press, did not give emotional interviews. She came to the office dressed as she always did, in a strict suit, with a facial expression that could freeze any attempt to disturb the peace. And although there was a lot of applause, she remained firm and restrained. It was not a moment for celebration, but a moment for real control. All employees, from middle management to department heads, greeted her return with a certain amount of caution. Everyone knew that Rebecca wouldn't ask questions. She would take action right away. And it was this character, which combined cold determination with a deep understanding of the business, that allowed her to take control of the situation again. People began to feel a sense of stability, and although what happened was still a shock to many, most of them realized that it would not be the same with Rebecca. And it was another force that was imposing its own rules. But, as with all great twists and turns, the story is not over yet. Although on the surface it seemed that everything had been restored and the company was back under control, there were still unsaid moments, hidden manipulations, and unfinished plans. Laura, although she had left the company, still had her connections and resources. Michael, despite everything, had a certain influence on the business network, and even in despair, he did not give up the idea of returning. And Ashley, her disappearance could not remain without consequences, and although it looked like a new beginning for everyone, new threats were already looming on the horizon that had yet to be overcome.